Finally, pre-built keyboards are getting so much better now, to the point where you don't even have to mod these. You can use it stock out of the box and you would still have some damn good keyboards on your hands. Or under your hands. So today, we're gonna be talking about these 2 or 3 pre-built keyboards that are so good, they blew me away. First up, we'll talk about the Iquinix OG80 Wormhole, then the MelGeek Mojo68. 2 compact options that have a lot of really cool features, great design choices, and a lot of personality to the keyboard that makes it stand out from the rest. So if you're in the market for an upgrade, I got you covered today. First, we're gonna talk about the OG80 Wormhole. I saw this online and absolutely fell in love with its looks, and I just really dig the frosted case with the teal accents all around. You get a nice novelty spacebar, along with the 2-tone keycaps with the white and light gray. It's that same compact 75% layout we saw from their Cosmic Traveler keyboard that I showed off last year, now just more my style visually. Inside the box, they also give you 4 other teal novelty keycaps to place around the keyboard to swap with your stock escape key. Always a nice touch for sure, the more the merrier. The PVT keycaps here are not shine through though, as you can see, even though we have that full RGB PCB at the frosted case, so you're not gonna be getting that full glow through the characters on the keys, but the board as a whole just sort of makes up for that, as you'll see. So the board can be used wired or wirelessly with a 2.4 GHz toggle on the backside, or through Bluetooth. But on the top left side of the keyboard where that little teal cover is, that houses your wireless dongle if you're taking this with you out on the go. And the blinking purple LED light underneath is an indicator for things like your pairing status and battery level if you are using this wirelessly. So it's cool to see you have the 3 modes of connectivity. You know, you can use this however you need to, but if you do have like a fancy custom coil cable, I think it would pair really nicely with this board. I tested it with their 2.4 GHz dongle. I had no issues with lag whatsoever, nothing like that. And it's great to see that we can have a wireless keyboard like this that has great battery life and also crazy RGB. Built in are a ton of effects. It's all configured on the board itself, so you don't need software. But not only are the effects cool looking themselves, each effect can also be changed to a single color, all at the press of a key, so you can have your cake and eat it too. If you don't want the crazy RGB light show, boom, you could still have some crazy effects going on, but just to one color to match your setup. And admit it, they did a killer job here with the diffusion. I love how the bottom of the PCB is exposed inside so you can see the RGB leak all inside the board. It's frosted, so it's diffused, looks so nice. I just think it is so well done. And as a final result, when talking visuals that is, it is really one of the best looking pre-builts out there. But visuals are the least important part of a keyboard, right? And none of that would matter if the keyboard itself was trash. But it's not, because Iquinix hooks you up with a ton of options. You can configure it how you want it. On their site, not only can you pick between a no RGB PCB if you don't care for the flashy lights, but you can also pick your stabilizers and pick between 10 different switch choices. In my unit here, I have the TTC Gold Pink. For those not familiar, these are a very smooth and light linear switch. However, say you aren't a fan of these switches, or the ones you've picked just aren't cutting it, and you want to explore the keyboard community some more and pick up your own switches, of course here we have a hot swap PCB. It is 5-pin and north facing, so you can use pretty much any switch type you want. And here's where I would typically, prefer a south facing PCB, but honestly, if you're buying this board, it's because of the overall aesthetics, and odds are you're not gonna be replacing the keycaps on here, because why would you? That's what makes the theme. So I'm not gonna knock it here for that, because again, this is a no modding required keyboard. Another thing to touch on before we move on are the Co-Star stabilizers, in this unit at least. As you saw, we do have regular cherry plate mount stabilizers as an option at checkout, but honestly, for being Co-Star, they sound and feel good. No ping at all, no ugly rattling, and they're also factory lubed, which is what's preventing a lot of that common rattling sound when the bar would typically, hit that black plastic stem underneath, but there is none of that here. Never thought I'd see the day where Co-Star stabilizers are actually usable. Alright, so now we're gonna do a sound test with the OG80 Wormhole, like I said, with these TTC Gold Pink linear switches. So when I first got this in a few months ago and started using it, my first reaction was, how does this sound so good that it could rival custom keyboards around 3 times the price? But this is a stock pre-built. And it's really the mix of materials. Like I said, we have a whole polycarbonate case between the PCB and the plate. There's also a layer of foam as well. And it just creates this really nice and satisfying deep sound profile that is not easy to come by. And overall, like I said, Co-Star stabilizers, not your cup of tea, but these sound and feel so good. There's no audible pinging or rattling anywhere in this keyboard, and it is a dream to type on, and it just sounds so, like I said, just good and deep. It's a really great keyboard. Prices for this will vary, anywhere from like $179 to around $200, because again, depending on how you configure this, there's a bunch of different options as you saw. However, on the site, if you pick the RGB PCB with cherry plate mount stabilizers, then all switches, depending on what option you pick from, your final cost will be $179.99. Plus, they always have active coupon codes and stuff as well. But now I want to move over and talk about the Mojo68. And one of the things that stuck out to me that MelGeek did with these boards is just how they created these in different color options and themes. This plastic quote named one I have here is an obvious nod to the off-white trend, with the bold lettering and graphics all around that I never really thought would, look good on a keyboard, but their execution here I think is flawless. Again, it's all about the little things and, adding the extra personality to a pre-built keyboard that you can typically do on customs. Also, I have their monster version with this really nice looking deep blue theme, highlighted by the clear polycarbonate case with these soft rounded edges that look super nice as it's color coordinating to whatever theme you buy. On their pre-order site, you can see some of the options they have to pick from. Really digging the array of colors, and I like that purple one a lot. So thumbs up all around for their design choices. Now, as a compact 65% wireless keyboard, they really had their work cut out for them, making something unique in the already saturated market, but I definitely think they did enough to stand out, especially when it comes to quality and acoustics. Now, of course, you'd expect these to be hot swap, and they are. So if you feel the need to swap out your stock switches, you can. And the PCB here is also 5-pin, but it is south-facing, so more of a universal option. But like I said, with the OG80, there's really no need to swap out the keycaps since they're entirely made to match a theme of your board. Since I had the 2 separate units, the plastic one has TTC gold pink switches again, and the monster version has these tactile TTC bluish white switches, they're called. So coming up in a minute, I'll do a sound test so you can hear the differences between the 2 profiles. And speaking of physical profiles, they are completely different as you can see. My plastic unit is in the MCR profile, which is more flat, similar to a Cherry and DSA hybrid, while the monster keyboard has these MG profile keycaps, very similar to SA. Keycaps used are double shot, so the legend itself is separate from the actual rest of the keycap. It's nice and crisp, but they're real thick keycaps as well, and they look so good. I'm sure MelGeek could start making their own keycap sets separately available, and they would sell like hotcakes. But next up, let's strip the keyboard down, because the internals are interesting. The frame is all screwless, it's all clipped together, so I wouldn't advise taking this apart if you don't need to. Again, no modding required, as I said. But as a gasket mount keyboard, you'll see embedded into the top frame are these 6 squishy rubber strips, and these act as a dampener for the plate inside to bounce off of and sort of rest against as you're typing. We then have the plate and PCB, and sandwiched between the two is a layer of pour-on foam to help even more with the acoustics. You can kind of see it smushed in between there. Then the 4,000 milliamp hour battery on the backside is just laying there, so be careful with that. And if you're curious, we do have Gateron hot swap sockets used on the PCB. And then what I really like when I was curious about is the super thick custom cut silicone dampener on the bottom. This is what you can see underneath the keyboard, and with the case being all polycarbonate, this dampener is going to do wonders when it comes to cutting down on the echoing resonance that some keyboards like this have. Like, come on, check this out. This is some nice dampening. You could slap someone with this, and they'll thank you. Then lastly, for the bottom shell, nothing too fancy here, but you can see these 4 rubber caps on each side, which is what butts up against the plate in the PCB when it's all put together. And these caps just sort of, keep it in place really. Now on the plastic unit, I keep the RGB turned off because that's not really necessary. But as you can see on my monster one, Having that blue RGB light accent the color theme and the frame is a really nice addition. Like I said before, the silicone dampener does hide the RGB from shining sort of out the bottom, unfortunately, and since the keycaps aren't shine through themselves, the RGB overall is pretty minimal and muted, but just that subtle glow you get, I think is satisfactory enough. Especially if you're someone like me who just wants a nice static color on their keyboard that's not overbearing. Now, like the OG80, we also have a tri-mode connectivity here with it being wireless over the 2.4 GHz connection. You can pair it with a Bluetooth device as well, or use it wired. By the way, all of my testing for both of these keyboards, and pretty much just since I've got all these in, has been over the wireless 2.4 GHz, and I really had no need for Bluetooth in the studio, so I didn't try it out, and it just was great all around. Again, no lag, no issues, and even though both keyboards have a massive 4000 mAh battery, using these with a nice custom coiled cable I think is just the way to go. It makes it look like a premium custom build, even though it's not. All right. Sound test time for the Mojo68. Again, we have TTC gold pink switches in the plastic unit and those TTC bluish white tactiles in the monster unit. All right, I have to say, my time with this plastic board and these TTC gold pink switches, I think suck. It has been one of the nicest sounding keyboards I've ever used across any keyboard I've ever built or owned on this channel. And that's saying a lot. The number one word I can use to describe this, I think the sound profile is marbly. It just has such a satisfying feel and sound. With that silicone dampener, again, the little gasket strips, and with it being a polycarbonate case, they are doing magic here. It's insane. And again, as you heard with the monster unit and those tactile bluish white switches, it was fine. Sound great, felt great, but it is completely overshadowed by the satisfactory of the plastic unit here. Stabilizers, didn't even talk about them, but they are cherry plate mount and they are also factory lubed. So as you probably heard, no pinging, no rattling, nothing but good. Now, prices for the Mojo68 will vary. Like I said before, it was still kind of in the pre-order group buy phase. I've seen reviewers, have this out on their channel for the past like 5 months or so. So I'm not really sure the progress on this yet, but it is gonna be a little bit more expensive than your typical keyboard. I saw the early bird price, it was around $179. So that is a lot more than your typical pre-built. But again, these are different. That's the whole purpose of this video, is to showcase and highlight the fact that keyboards are getting better. As someone who started the channel reviewing Corsair and Razer keyboards, it is absolutely insane to me to see how little progress a lot of the gaming keyboards have made. And while the custom keyboard scene has absolutely exploded over the last 3 years or so, it is a daunting thing to get into. It's also a crazy money pit. So I understand why a lot of people just at the end of the day don't want to mod their keyboard. They don't want to take it apart and do all these tedious little things. At the end of the day, make a minor difference that no one's going to notice except for them. So that's why pre-built are still very popular, but they're still kind of trash. So that's why when I see 2 new keyboards from brands I've never really used before, like 2021 with Iquinix and MelGeek, when I see 2 pre-builts that are so good that they blow me away, and have a lot of really unique features and design choices that make them on par with customs, I get excited and I want to show them off because it is a great thing for the keyboard community. If Prebuilt can continue to improve and knock all our socks off, who wins in the end? You, us, consumers. So guys, that'll wrap it up. If you want to check them out, I'll have them both listed for you in the description down below. And if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up to show your support. I know it's not a review, I didn't do a dedicated review of each one, but just highlighting what's good about them. Only I think people watch 4 minutes on average of this video as it is. So that's why it was more of a general highlighted video of the best right now. But if you liked it, like I said, big thumbs up to show your support. Feel free to follow me on Twitter at randomfrankp. And last, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Hope you all enjoyed. Have a good day.